Hey everybody, Bill here, CEO of Focus Lab, a global B2B brand agency. Today I'm back with another great episode of The Debrief. As a reminder, The Debrief is a candid conversation between myself and past Focus Lab clients. In these conversations, we pull back the curtain and bring clarity to what the rebrand journey is truly like from the client side. If you're considering a rebrand and curious about how it all goes down, this is the series for you. Okay, so today I spoke with Matt, co-founder of Openly, and Chris, who is the COO of Openly. We had the pleasure of working with Openly just about 3 years ago now. It was 3 years ago when they first reached out. And wow, they've come a long way. So when they first reached out, they were a seed stage company, about 12, 13 people. 3 years go by. They've successfully raised their Series C now, and they are over 300 people. So we spend some time talking about what it was like to rebrand that early as a seed stage company. We talk about what the most challenging aspect was, why it was better for them to brand early versus branding now, the result that they've seen early and now late, 3 years into the rebrand, and the return they're getting on that. So another fantastic conversation, a lot of valuable insight from these two past partners of ours. I really hope you enjoy. All right, fellas. Hello. It's been a long time since we last chatted. I think it's been a couple years, at least with me specifically. I know you've interacted with the team and had some additional work, but it's been a couple years since we've talked. So I'm really excited to talk to you all about the Openly rebrand experience, right? We worked together and went through that. And I want you to share your experience with the viewers and the listeners. But before we go there, let me just lead us out with a couple things. I went hunting today, and the date, Matt, that you reached out to us for the Openly stuff, the rebrand specifically, was October 27th, 2019. That feels like 28 years ago.
Yeah.
Does it feel that way to you?
Yes. Chris and I met for a few minutes before this call just to rehash what was going on. And I can't believe it's been that many years. We're like, yeah, what? That was life before COVID. That was life when we were 20 people. That was
yes, right. I want to hear all that, because when I was doing the same thing, I was trying to figure out, well, how big, like, where were you at in your business life cycle? Still a seed stage, right? And now you're a Series C. You've come a long way in that amount of time. I can only imagine opening with just a few states or one. I don't know. We can talk about that. And then now to however many you are now that Openly is offering their services to. So we'll get to all of that. But I looked back.
Because we were talking about this morning, and we were saying that was right around when we sold our first policy. It was actually 2 days. We sold our first policy 2 days before we were chatting. Before Matt was chatting with you.
I knew this was going to be big. I was like, we're going to need a rebrand. We haven't sold anything yet, but we're going to need a rebrand.
Yeah, and let's make sure we get to that, because it's a really important point. I think there is this dilemma in a lot of founders' minds of, well, we don't need that yet.
Yeah.
And I think there are two different tracks. I think some people can not do it yet and still be successful, but some people really believe in the idea of doing it earlier and what that then brings to the table and allows them to do earlier versus later. And I want to definitely talk about that with you all, because you're obviously a great example of that. So, but before we get into the actual questions, can we take a minute? I can have each one of you just introduce yourselves and tell us what you're building, what you do at Openly, et cetera.
Sure. So I'll go first. My name is Matt Wielbut. I'm the Chief Technology Officer and one of the two founders. I am in charge of all things technology and engineering at Openly. We're about 60 engineers, 300 people at the company. And my background is I've always been a computer engineer. I worked at a large investment bank for years, but left kind of before I became a lifer there. Started a few startups, have worked with you, Bill, and Focus Lab before in a prior startup. So now I'm here at Openly, and it's been an amazing 5+ year journey.
It's wild. I'm Chris Bacon. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Openly. I was the first non-engineering, non-actuary hire for Openly. So my team Matt mentioned, we're about 300 people. I've got about half the organization in my team, and we do all of the things that touch all of our stakeholders. So if it's an agent, we're talking with them on trying to drive more sales, servicing their existing relationships. We manage our claim, and my team manages all the claims. So anytime a policyholder has an issue, they need to file a claim, we deliver on our promise. We're working with my team, and then we also have all of our employees. So the people operations organization reports to me as well. So kind of think about it from that whole stakeholder perspective: agents, customers, and employees.
Yeah. So not a very big deal is what you're saying.
Very
not a lot
scope.
going on.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Yeah, pretty small.
There's just a lot of extra time, right?
Thank you both. Wow, 300 people. Just you dropping that number in my brain, I'm like, wow, that's a lot. Focus Lab is 36. It feels like a lot to me, right? As an owner, founder. I can't imagine what 300 feels like. And what size do you think you were again when you reached out? Maybe 20?
Not even.
I think it was smaller than 20 because we were 20 when we were smaller than 20, right? Chris,
I think it was 12 or 13.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The early days.
Big. 12 or 13. That was like a big deal. We had like people that, really depended on us. We had an office. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah. At that point, I'm assuming if you thought about 300, it wasn't like I can't wrap my arms around that yet. Maybe we'll get there, but that sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
And here you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back then and let's try to sit in that moment. So as a very early seed stage startup, you had the wherewithal to say, I think investing in brand this early is going to be important. Why did you make that decision?
Yeah, I think there was a couple of different things. One, like you said, we had just raised money. It was our first round. So we had some money to pay for good branding. But kind of less tongue in cheek, Chris and I, the rest of the leadership team at that point, we don't have any background in marketing, in branding, in design, right? We were actuaries and engineers and insurance operations people. We knew that we wanted that this was going to be a very visual brand. People were going to be aware of us. And so we couldn't do it. So we knew that we had to bring someone else in-house to help us do that. And so, yeah, I think that was a big part of it. And the other part of it was our logo at that point was basically a font that I had downloaded and made a couple changes to. Our imagery was just free photos that I had downloaded from some website, some royalty-free website. Our website was a Squarespace site. Right, and we're about to sell our first policy and be an insurance company that is going to be in 48 states and selling millions of dollars. And it's just, we knew we needed to level up.
Yeah, one of the other things too is like our target market is a higher end customer. It is someone who is looking for a certain appearance, right? Like at the end of the day, you're looking for a certain level of sophistication, and that was something that. As we're piecing together a Squarespace website, it was very quick that, it's not, if you've got a policyholder going to the website looking to see like who exactly are these guys, who is openly, like we want them to think, oh, this is sophistication. This is, they have their act together. They know what they're doing.
Yeah. Good point. Brand, much of brand is perception, but that doesn't mean lying. But it does mean expressing yourself in a way that you are perceived accurately. So you can be as talented as you all are, but if you don't express yourself as that, then you're going to be perceived as weak, not trustworthy in signing up for an insurance policy, et cetera.
I think you hit it exactly on the head. We all consider ourselves nerds, right? And we believe that we've built this very sophisticated insurance company. But we didn't believe that we had the abilities to properly express that in a way that is easily conveyed to our consumer and clients. And so that's where we needed the branding to come.
Yeah, fantastic. Was there any fear in investing in brand that early? Was there any pushback internally where maybe Matt, maybe you were a huge proponent, but maybe others weren't? I'm just curious.
Yeah, there definitely was a lot of interest, and I think there was. It's funny because I think there definitely was interest, but there was also apprehension, right? Like we knew very quickly that brand and designing a marketing strategy and a brand strategy, that was not our areas of strength. And we knew we needed to bring someone in to really help guide us down that path towards where we needed to get to. But at the same time, we were also still a really small company that really liked to have control over everything that we did. And so there was that level of, okay, the fact that Matt had worked with you all before, that was the thing that got, I think, wherever there was a little apprehension, got us over that hurdle of like, this is a team that we can trust. Like, these are people that we can trust to help guide us down that path.
Yeah, great. And our process is built to do all of that, essentially, right? To build the client into the process. It's very collaborative. It is very high touch.
Yeah.
And y'all got to experience
I'll
that.
add that I don't think that the apprehension was so much about like, is this the right thing? Or is this the right team that's going to work with us? I think it was probably more about the time commitment. We're launching this company. We're selling our first policies. Everything is high priority right now. Do we really want to distract ourselves by focusing on something that's probably going to be important a year or two from now? But if we don't start it now, we're going to wish we did, and that whole mind game.
Yeah. And maybe we'll get to this a little bit later too. The time commitment is large. Right? It's not anything to shake a stick at. It's like, it's not one of these scenarios we say, oh, we're going to go through the rebrand. We're going to find experts, hire them, and we're just going to let them do their thing. And we can just sit back and we're going to get this awesome present at the end. It's like, no, we're going to climb this mountain together. The climb is going to be hard for both of us, but worth it, right? It's worth the journey, is absolutely worth it. So this question then is silly. Well, maybe it's not, which is, what were you looking for in the partner? What were you looking for in the agency when you considered now it's time to rebrand? I say it's silly because I think I know, like we had previously worked together. I know what maybe was important to you, but let's still have you talk about it.
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think having the partnership and having the experience of that Matt had with you was really important. I think the way you all laid it out as well for us really helped us. We're very process driven people and very structured, and like we like things to flow in a very normal path. And I think what you took was a level of ambiguity from due to the fact that it's a very creative process, and made it very structured for us to be able to say, okay, we got to chunk off this step in the process first. And you lay that out really early on for us. The team did a really great job of getting us to a point where, I looked at this company, and this is the first time I've done anything like this. I had no idea what to expect. And I saw this really ambiguous concept that we wanted to lay out. And you were able to get me over a lot of different hurdles of, okay, I can piece myself through this. I can get myself to a point where I get it. I understand it. And that's how a lot of us think at Openly.
Yeah, I can tell you that within our company, I also have a lot of process-minded people as well. And what you're seeing there is a result of that. So me as a art student and just a pure creative, an entrepreneur and other things now, but really as a pure creative, I could have, in an alternate world, built a creative company that still was not as processy, right? I would have been like, oh, it's a creative process and, we'll get there when we get there. But thankfully, I have a really strong, talented team that is very process oriented. So we've been able to basically build both together and have high creative output, but within a really expected process on the client side. We know exactly what day we're going to get certain things. We know why we're going to get this before this. We know what we need to do before the next thing we get it. It's building the machine. And I think maybe sometimes agencies fear building the machine because it would reduce creativity, but that's not true. They're not mutually exclusive. You can do both.
Yeah. And I think having very set deadlines too. Sorry, Matt. So I think having those set deadlines really forced us. So like Matt was saying, like there's so many things that we were trying to accomplish, and we were running towards a lot of different goals, and we're just starting to sell business and starting to get this company up and running. But having those deadlines forced us to say, okay, we need to commit X number of hours this week, and we have to have it done by Wednesday morning. Like we got to have this done. Okay, let's knock this out. Like let's just let's sit down and really focus.
Did that pressure feel hard for you all? That kind of never-ending wheel week to week of got to get our feedback in, got to do this, got to do that.
It was hard. It was a lot of Sunday nights, like our homework is due Monday morning. We gotta get it done.
Yes. It's hard, but it also pushed us. It pushed us to make decisions, right? So that was one of the other things too, is we could kind of waffle on something back and forth, but then at the end of a session, we say, well, we've got to give them something. We need to kind of, they need to make a decision, and they may put, the team may push back on us, but we need to at least make a decision.
Yeah.
And, it was also nice because your team was able to deliver things on a week by week basis. So we could immediately see the fruits of our labor, right? That, okay, well, we'll get our homework done, and then in 4 days, we're going to see something awesome. So it's worth it versus putting a lot of work. And then at the end of 3 months, getting something and hoping it's the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for spending time on that, because I do think that is one of the more challenging aspects of a rebrand project for just about all clients. It is that uncomfortable tension of, I would love more time to sit with this, but I have to get you some version of feedback so we can keep the ball rolling. And I think some organizations really see that as a positive. Hey, this is going to force us to get this thing done, and we're still going to get it done well. Some really struggle with that because of the word, it's going to force us, where that can lead them to believe in being forced, we might make bad decisions. We might feel rushed. It's a very natural tension, and sometimes it's very uncomfortable, but I'm glad you brought it up because it is there.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll also add that, it's the challenge of getting our work done, right? So you have the input that you need, but then I think there's also the challenge of us getting all aligned on that.
Yeah.
It was really early stage, right? A lot of us had just started working together 3, 4, or 5 months before. Some of us had different visions for what the company was going to become. And so this was really an opportunity for us to get aligned on some of those things. And it was difficult. It was like eating your vegetables. Everybody had to have some heart to hearts on what this really meant, right? You're asking questions about what are the core values of this business? Well, we'd never written down our core values. Should we do that? Well, what do you think is important in our business? And so I think that the questions that you asked led to things in alignment on things that went way beyond the brand, and led to, we have this culture of values thing that we present to every new employee. And that came out of this. And it's fantastic.
I love that. We've started to now say, basically, you're not buying a rebrand, you're buying organizational clarity, right? And that goes bigger and broader to all the things, being forced to sit down and say, okay, if we were given the opportunity, we probably would sit down and discuss something else, product features and other things that are more kind of in the weeds. But going through the rebrand process, it really forces you to sit down and think more holistically, more broad, and at the brand level. So great. Okay, so you decided to work with Focus Lab. We were obviously very excited to see your email come through, Matt, because we had previously worked together and we knew the relationship would be locked tight. So we get into the project, and we've covered some of this now, but I'm curious to hear from each of you, what did you think was the most challenging aspect of the project?
The lack of control, right? That it's something that was so new to us. We had this part of the business that we were trying to build, but we weren't brand experts. We weren't creatives. And so we really had to fully kind of trust your team in delivering that for us. And obviously, you're going to ask us for a lot of input, but as much as possible, we want to just say, you're the experts, please.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that is definitely the piece there. I think really taking that really ambiguous concept of what we're trying to accomplish here, and then being able to step it down. Like, for me, getting over that initial hurdle was a really big one of whoa, we're going to redo everything, and this is not just like we're going to create a new logo, and we're going to define some colors and some fonts and things like that. And I think the understanding what it meant to get it into the organization was learning from how you and your other clients have gotten the teams to that point of being able to, okay, we understand the concept behind why, and now we're all in and we're ready to go with it. I think that was, to me, like, that first step was, okay, we got to get all over this stuff, and there's a ton of work we got to do. We got to get all these stuff done, and then we have to implement it. And like that became a huge challenge of like, we got to make sure everyone buys into this. And we had been growing as a company. And so like, there were a lot of new folks by the time that we actually rolled this out that hadn't gone through the journey with us. And cause we're a very transparent team. And so we were giving the existing team a lot of updates and insight into what we're doing. And so now we've got all these new folks that are kind of saying, well, what are we doing? And so we had to get them over that. And then we had to go down and track everything down. And that became a lot of fun as well, of like getting everything into market there. I mean,
a lot of fun, interesting word choice.
There were many times where it's like every once in a while you'd still find something. You know, like a year later you'd be like, wait, why is it the old logo? We never caught that one. Okay, let's get that one updated.
Imagine your company's 20 years old when you do this.
Yeah. Oh, I can't imagine
how much brand debt there is floating around. It's unimaginable, really. I think for some of these companies, how much they need to update. You know, some of these, we've worked with companies. This is a little bit off track, and editing team, cut it out if you want. Doesn't matter. But like, we've worked with companies that are so long in their brand history that they're like, we can't even afford to change the color. We have to stay the same color. Because if we change the color, I literally have to buy thousands of new chairs because all our chairs are purple. Every wall is purple. Like, just a lift on the color change difference, they'd have to spend millions of dollars. So they'll say, like, if it works, can we keep the same color? Everything else is up for grabs, but it's just so much stuff to update. Yes. And on the like implementation side, executing and doing all that work, we've recognized since working with you all that is such a lift that we've built an additional service around that to say, let us stay on and help you build out all these assets, because maybe you don't even have your first designer yet. Maybe you have your first couple designers and writers, but they're busy doing other stuff, and you need somebody to really work through old to new, pitch decks, sales decks, all marketing needs.
I actually think that we may have been one of your first clients in that, because I remember you pitching. Like, I remember sending you an email and saying, "Hey, we're really excited that we're done with this branding, but now we've got to update all of these assets." And like, could we hire you for some side work? And you're like, actually, we're just trying that out. So
yes. Yeah, that was almost like our beta, if you will. We knew it would work, right? It wasn't a foreign thing to us. It was just kind of it's a little bit of a different business model. Still designing stuff, still writing things. So it's our core competency. So yeah, actually, I think you're right. I think you were literally like the first. And now the vast majority of our clients stay on to get that because everybody needs it, or else you're stuck finding freelancers.
Yeah. Yeah. All of our PowerPoint decks are still the template that you designed that originally. Our letterhead is still the same. Yeah. All those assets are.
It's been years now, right?
Yeah.
Years.
Yeah. We use a lot of the imagery and the designs within the website as we've rolled out, an enhancement to our website. But we're still all of the foundations of what you helped us build and design. Like, they're still absolutely all still there.
Yeah, that's a fantastic takeaway for founders that are going to watch this too. Like, you're talking seed stage, sub 20 person team to now 300, and you're still working off of that same foundation. You can make that investment early, and it doesn't mean you got to go redo it all as you grow and really figure out who you are. You can do a lot of the figuring out of who the hell you are, even at that size. It feels maybe a little bit more unknown because you're really having to figure it out in the moment. And you certainly will learn things as you grow, as you all have. But it doesn't mean the brand needs to change. And I think that's an important distinction people need to know. If you know really what you care about and what you're trying to build, your product can change. Your offering can change. It doesn't mean your brand is now dynamically broken. What you care about and how you operate in your culture and all those things should still be the same.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That was the most challenging. What was the most surprising? What was the most like, oh, I didn't know that would happen, or I didn't expect that outcome?
How quickly it's become a focal part of our business. And I mean that a lot with our agent partners. That so we go to trade shows, and we with different agent associations all across the country, and like we have become like, we're known as like, people will walk up to us, and still I was at an event a couple months ago, and we still have agents come up to us and be like, that is just a clean, beautiful logo. And like, it's like, there's like, this is great. And like, the swag that our agents, like, you can, like, I think Matt's got one of the fingers there, and it's like we've got like, there, if you go onto LinkedIn,
Nice.
Our sales team will go out to agencies, and like, they'll be like the team picture, and like those foam fingers are everywhere. And it's like, it's become like, and you can see like Matt and I are both got our sweatshirts on with the same logos and the same designs and the same colors.
This is my daily wear. And this isn't just for this.
The agents will sit in like, someone will get a sweatshirt, whether one of the sales teams will do something, and we'll run a small contest or something, and one of the prizes is an Oakley hoodie or something like this. And like, you'll see other agents in other parts of the country being like, hey, how do I get one of those? Where's mine? Like, that's the most surprising thing for me, is like how quickly like it's becomes a major part of who we are.
Yeah, and that's very unusual, I think, in our industry. Like, you have a lot of stodgy insurance companies. I don't think a lot of agents,
which is probably why it's happening.
Yeah, and
right.
They don't really, yearn to have a lot of that, swag that they're wearing. But with Openly, for some reason, we're the cool kids, which I'll take it. Yeah,
well, it's because of how you are building your business and the brand and what it represents. Right, so I'm not even going to try to have Focus Lab take credit on designer words or whatever it is, but it is the fact that you care to be different, invested in that, and now are expressing that. People are like, I want some of that.
It's very true. We've really been able to lean into it, and it's employees are the same way. Like employees are so excited when we can find ways to, we're gonna do some sort of a internal contest. And it's like, the prize is Openly swag. Wait, like they're just like jumping in. They're all in.
Love
like,
it.
I would spend my own money on it. Like they're like they love that. Everyone loves their Openly stuff. My wife does too. My wife walks around with an Openly winter jacket on, and it's like it's everywhere.
Sounds like y'all need a merch store.
Oh yeah,
we're working on
new business line.
One of the things that was pretty contentious when we were in the design process was the idea of the slant, right?
Yes.
I remember when your team pitched that to us, we loved the idea of this kind of cursive logo, but the slant we just could not wrap our heads around. And it was one of those really forward thinking things that was a little edgier. And we kept pushing back and saying, no, like, let's do it, another way. And finally, your team had put together a proposal of like what it would look like without the slant. And we all took a look at it and immediately looked at each other and said, no, the slant is much better.
Bring it back.
Yeah. And so I think that was just surprising, right? Like, your initial reaction to some of these things is not always the right one. Like, sleep on it for a day or in case, a week, 2 weeks. And now the slant is one of my favorite things, if not my favorite thing. There is no other company that I know of that has that. Nobody asks about it. They just think it works and it looks cool.
If there's a big takeaway here, that might be the big one of the episode. It is really hard as a non-creatives on the client side. Sometimes there are creatives, but generally speaking, non-creative, to see these seemingly kind of like a little bit out of the box, maybe for lack of a better word, way of approaching a design solution and saying like, I don't know about that. Sitting on it, like you said, and really letting it simmer for a minute. What a big difference. We see that over and over again. And then it's our job to comfortably push back and say, we believe this is going to be the best solution for you. You may not love it yet. Maybe let's get through another week of it. Let us try to sell you more on why. Most people come around. Sometimes it's so uncomfortable though. And I can empathize with that. I know it's not easy. Happy to see you did, though.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to be a little bit vulnerable, a little bit humble, very open. I think if you're stuck in your ways, don't hire a design firm, right? just do it your way, right?
Yeah, it's like, why? This sounds like the bratty question, though, but it's like, why go through the exercise if you're not going to be open to really pushing the boundaries? That is what the exercise is for. If you just wanted some simple typed out typeface on a flat line, not to say you could just do that on your own, but right? Let's really try to be different in the market. That's a key value of branding, right? Be different, stand out.
That is exactly, and I think that's fundamentally one of the things about us as a company that is absolutely one of our guiding principles is we're going to challenge everything. Like one of our core values is curiosity. We're going to constantly be pushing and saying, well, why is that the norm? Why are we going to do that? So it was one of those. It's fascinating to look back on that experience and say, yeah, we were all absolutely completely opposed to it, but because that's just inherently how we operate, and it just takes us a little bit of time, and we start asking the question of, well, why not?
Yeah.
That's the point that was like, okay. And then like to Matt's point, like once we saw what it would look like in another way, and it was like, oh, no. We don't like that at all. We like this land. And it was like, you all provided a ton of great guidance and support for your work that, that's what really got us over the hurdle.
Thank you for that extra explanation, Chris. It's interesting now to look back on it, right? Because you're saying you're trying to be more of a disruptor. I know that word gets overused, but to be more of a disruptor in the industry, why wouldn't you want to express that visually through having something that doesn't look like what other people have?
Exactly.
It is hard though in the moment, right? Because it's always this psychological game of let's play a little bit more safe. Let's pull it back a little bit. I think the people that are able to get past that hurdle are really able to kind of break new ground moving forward it's like a faster, speedier progression in their brand and what it means and how it differentiates, as opposed to, well, it looks cleaner and better. Still kind of looks like other people though. Still kind of safe.
We turned them into neon signs. And that was Matt had this amazing neon sign idea, and we now take them to every one of our trade shows. And it's like, and now we have other carriers that are starting to copy us. And so we'll start to see other companies being like, hey, that's a pretty good idea. And so, we'll take it. Well, it's nice to be copied. It's nice to be the one out there that everyone is trying to copy.
And actually, Bill, I think I have to give your team full credit for the original idea. I think when we worked together at Recitate, you had put together a neon sign version of that logo. And I thought to myself, one day I'm going to do that for Openly. And we did that.
There's a third question here that I ask, and we might have covered it, but what was the most rewarding part of the project? Maybe non-obvious. What was the most rewarding when it was all said and done, or even now?
I think it's the pride the team takes in the uniqueness of our brand. And there is a genuine pride that every employee takes. Like it's not phony. There's a tremendous amount of pride that the organization has in what we are, what we do. I mean, people will talk about the purple, and there's such a level of excitement at all different levels of the organization about that. And I think that is absolutely the most rewarding thing, to be able to see the pride that the team takes in it.
You got a +1 that one, Matt. You're +1.
Yeah. I think that's the best answer that I could get to. I think it just has become such a part of our identity, or maybe the other way, it reflects our identity in such an accurate way. Like what Chris said earlier, about it, the excitement that employees have for getting Openly socks. Like, I don't know. I can't say that about any previous employer that I've ever had. It's really cool.
Yeah. Something else that we say is the brand, when we work with a company, their problem and what they're trying to solve for doesn't live out there. It actually lives in here, right? Is it in the heart of the founders and the organization itself? And our job is just to help express that. right? So that was already innately openly. That was going to be openly to some degree, no matter what was done from a brand perspective. But then the brand comes on top of that and it says, now we can actually accurately express visually and verbally how we feel in here. And those two things married together are where the magic comes from, which is why you have a team that wears those socks as a flag, basically, is what they're doing, right? They're not saying, I love purple, or they're not saying, like, I think this is the coolest logo ever. They're saying, I love everything this company stands for. I love this brand, and I want to wear it to show that love for the brand. So great. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And maybe one more thing I'll add, and maybe this isn't necessarily answer the question about rewarding, but it is meaningful that we did this really early on. I think if we're going through this process now, it would be very challenging. You know, you're trying to now incorporate many more opinions, and the gravity of it, I think, is sometimes paralyzing. Whereas back then it was like, okay, this is exciting and we're new and like, it's also urgent. And I don't know, we were able to be more fluid and open. I think now we could probably get to the same place, but it would be much more difficult.
Yeah, well said. And we see that, right? We know what it's like to work with a 12-person team, 20-person team, and we know what it's like to work with a multi-thousand-person team. You can get to successful outcomes in both, but it certainly feels different.
When we presented this to the, 30 employees, by the time our journey ended, I was very nervous. I'm just like hearing the crickets at the end. I'm like, do people like it? Do people not like it? You know, just being scared that people are going to say, oh, I like the old design, I like the old stuff more. And like we'd come up with like a 12 bullet point plan of like why we were justifying this. We didn't need any of it. Like just immediately people started saying, I love this so much. I'm so happy with it.
I would completely agree. It's so interesting to see kind of how like I I was pushing Matt and Ty and the rest of the leadership team on like, all right, I'm going to take, I was going back this morning, and going back through some of the slides, that you sent over, Bill, around like, here's how you can position it. And here's the approach that you should take. And like, and I looked at this and was like, oh, I'm not going to recreate the wheel. I'm just going to replicate that and like build this whole thing out. We had like Matt said, we had like all these talking points. We spent all this time prepping for it, and we were like ready for pushback and all this evidence. Like, no, the crickets were like, people were like, yeah, I get it. This makes sense.
Yeah, there's a good takeaway there for all the people watching. I think that feels like such a critical moment of I hope everybody loves it. And I think everyone's going to feel that. It is very natural to feel that, but to remember, like you're saying, which is as long as it's rooted in really good purpose, right? And all that, it doesn't matter if people love purple or not. Those things become moot at the end of the day. This is where we're going. You build it around a vision in proper reasoning, and people are like, I get it. Awesome. That's the mission I want to go on. Do I personally want to wear purple? Maybe, maybe not. Doesn't matter. I think this was a really good decision for the business. So my next set of questions I'm really excited about. There's only two of them. Because sometimes when I do these interviews, I'm speaking with people maybe only 3 to 6 months after they've launched. So it's harder to understand the true performance of the brand at that point. Still too early, but it's been a couple years now. And like I said, you've gone from seed to Series C, and a lot has happened in between. So I'm curious. First question is, what has the new brand, not so new anymore, allowed you to do that you could not do before?
It's really, that branding effort has really become ubiquitous in all aspects of what we do. So, right, everything from our marketing materials and them and there being a consistent messaging there with the visuals and the imagery and the colors. Before it was very inconsistent, right? Every kind of very mishmash. And we also worked with you on everything from some of the documents that we were generating that we were sending to policyholders, which I believe are the most beautiful and concise and clear insurance documents you'll ever receive from an insurance company, to our career website, which is also another project we worked with you on. And, I believe we have the best talent out there. And they definitely say, hey, I went to your career website And I wasn't sure about an insurance company, but then like I read more and I looked at it. And, like, hey, this is like a cool insurance company. I kind of want to work here. And so like it really has impacted everything from how our policyholders view us to how potential employees view us, which is really cool.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. To what Matt's saying, it's that level of consistency is just so it just tightens everything up for us. And we'll go and we'll be, whether we're pitching to potential investors or we're meeting with agents, and we're using the same materials. Everything kind of has that same look and feel, and it does have that really strong, like, this is a sophisticated brand. Like, this is a sophisticated company that understands the magnitude of what we're talking about. We are talking about protecting the most valuable assets of that a consumer has. And this is a serious brand. It's not stodgy and it's not, stuffy or anything like this, but it's professional. It's clear. It's concise. It's just a very clean brand. And that really resonates, regardless of who we're talking to.
So are you saying if you went to the investors going for your Series D with the old brand, it wouldn't work? Maybe it would just be more work on you all. Okay, fantastic. My final question is around ROI. Is there any clear kind of ROI tracks that you can say this brand has absolutely resulted, or this effort in the rebrand has resulted in this thing?
I think the biggest thing is from how we engage with agents. So we're a B2B2C play. And so we sell indirectly through independent agents. And what it has done is, going back to that consistency and that it's very clear what we're trying to do. It makes the process of acquiring new agents a lot easier. And so it has driven down a lot of those costs, those acquisition costs of getting an agent in the front door. We're not necessarily having to, really push hard to make sure that agents understand what we're doing. Agents get it. Like, they fully understand it. We've had multiple viral moments within the agent space. Is like they have their own sub organization, like subculture especially within Facebook. And we will, like, all of a sudden we can see it. We know, like, all of a sudden we'll start getting a whole bunch more leads coming in, and they come in the door, and it's like all of a sudden we're getting like 50 in a day. And it's like, well, someone said something about us. And then you just go on, we find the information. And it's because it's so clear, and it's everything about our brand, is about it. It's laid out for them there. I think that's how I would say is, like, there is a very clear alignment with our agent acquisition cost that's been driven down from all the work that we've done focusing in on our brand.
Fantastic. Love hearing that.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of new insurance companies, right? And so it is really hard to compete when the core thing that your insurance company has to do is provide reliability and trust. And we're competing against companies that have been around for 100 or more years, right? Mm-hmm. What do you mean? Like, you're new, like, can I really trust you? But I think the branding that we were able to create was able to message that while still having kind of a new angle, which is really cool.
Yeah, which is probably the perfect, like, potion, right? Because I think people crave new. I think that's probably a big reason why you are successful. They don't want to go with legacy 100-year-old companies, because although those are trying to be built on trust, maybe over time they become untrustworthy through bad experience, et cetera. So it looks like you're new, but you can be trusted, and the brand helped to support in that effort. It was probably a really important word that we worked through with y'all as we were building this. Let's make sure it comes across as trustworthy. That brings us to the end. I really, really appreciate you all spending time with me to discuss this. These are things that people need to hear. They need to know that they can invest that early. They need to know that the time commitment is large, but it's well worth it. And Focus Lab will just be watching and cheering openly on as it continues to climb. I mean, without giving away secrets, I mean, what's next? What's cooking for 2023?
We continue to expand states. We're in 21 states now, continuing to grow. It's crazy to think that we're almost in half the country. Continuing to grow employees. Like, every new plateau feels like a totally different company, but we kind of have our core values. What else can you add, Chris?
I mean, it's continuing to build on the successes that we've had. So to Matt's point, adding more states and expanding into new markets, continuing to find new ways to meet both consumers and agents where they want to be met. And I think that's been one of the really fun experiences that we've had is because we're not that 100-year-old company where we can do things differently. And so a lot of it is, okay, let's talk to someone and say, how do you want to be met? Where do you want to be met? And how do you want to interact with an insurance company? And yeah, it's fascinating to see. We look at our NPS results and you see some of the highest scores are on the lowest touch claims experiences. And that is completely counterintuitive to what a legacy company would think about. And it's because the customer wants to do a lot of this stuff on their own and they want to do it in a very flexible way. So let's meet them there. And so that we're taking that and we've built on a bunch of pilots and a bunch of relationships with different companies that think differently about the claims process. And we're going to continue to scale that and make that more and more mature and finding new agents that want to work with us. We have almost 25,000 agents that talk with us and have access to quote openly right now. So we are, when we started talking to you, we were, under 100. And so it's been a lot of growth there. So we're going to continue to expand there and keep bringing openly to as many consumers as we possibly can.
Love it. And at some point, y'all will be ringing the bell somewhere on the exchange, and I'll be like, I know those guys and women. I know them. Well, props to you all. We loved working with you. Anything you need in the future, absolutely come back around. I would say that you're very high in the tops of like Focus Lab client relationship. There's this perfect blend of you're shaking it up. You're really smart and have a lot to add. You're also really trusting in working with a partner. And there's just really nice collaboration that happens when all those things are in harmony. So thank you all for that. Wish you the best. I know the team will be excited to watch this because there's a lot of love for Openly at Focus Lab.
And it's vice versa too. Yeah, it's vice versa. Our marketing team raves about the time that they've worked with the Focus Lab team and on all the subsequent work and projects that we've taken on. Like it's always been such an amazing experience.
That's what we care about most. We know it's a daunting task to go through a rebrand. So our job, we believe, is to make it the best customer experience, and that the work that we output now is table stakes to us, right? That's a given. The work has to be good. But delivering an experience that y'all got to experience, that's what we care about. Number one. All right, gentlemen. Happy Friday. See you out there.
Sounds great. Appreciate it. Thanks for the time, Bill.